We got some interesting reports to get into, maybe connected to some interesting news that isn't getting a lot of attention. It is SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. Training camp closer than ever. We're inside 100 days for the season starting, and there's a lot going on, including another report about old trader Nick Caserio trying to move up in the draft and for quite the price.
Yeah, this was an interesting thing to kind of come out. All these teams are doing these behind the scenes things. They get very in depth. The Patriots one's called Founding Foxborough. They put their first episode up this week, and they go through the draft, and they're on the clock with their second round pick, which is 38th overall. And it shows on the screen that they're having a conversation about trading the 38th overall pick. And the picks they're talking about are 58, 79, and next year's third. Well, 58 and 79 were owned by the Houston Texans. So the Texans tried to trade up to the 38th overall pick. And they offered up the 58th overall pick, the 79th overall pick, and their 2026 third round pick. And I'm basing it off of the way that he phrased it in the Patriots video. So this was the offer to move up 20 spots from 58 to 38th overall. Landry, when you see this trade, the Patriots ultimately stayed put, said they didn't like the offers on the table, and they took Travion Henderson. What do you believe they were trying to move up for to get to the 38th overall pick?
I mean, you'd already selected Jaden Higgins, so you don't think it was a wide receiver. It would be crazy if maybe they were the best case scenario is maybe they liked Ursery enough to where they were going to try to trade up and get Ursery. That would be, I guess. I mean, but we don't really trust their evaluation of offensive linemen. But Ursery ended up going 48th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he went
Correct.
48th. So maybe they were trying to trade up and get Ursery, and that was what their goal was. And given the fact that the Patriots had already taken an offensive lineman, they didn't think that there was a threat to them wanting another offensive lineman. So that's a possibility. It kind of means that they're lucky that the trade didn't go down if that's what they were trying to do. Or maybe they were doing what we talked about a lot, and they were trying to get the running back, and they were trying to pick Travion Henderson themselves. But it's just there's a lot of aggressiveness with Nick Caserio. There's a lot of balance, but I think the best case scenario would be that they just liked Ursery so much that they wanted to trade up and get him, and it wasn't, they weren't just settling for a guy that could be a very important part of things moving forward, assuming that Ursery is a guy that they trust to start. But that would be the one that would make the most sense for me.
Just right off the rip, I hate the value on this trade. That's a tremendous amount to move up. I don't care who the player is. That's a lot. It's probably excessive with the third round pick. They probably could have got this done. I don't know. Some teams have different values and so on, but it just feels like what they ultimately offered, which was 56, 58, 79, and a third rounder next year. That feels like a lot to move up 20 spots. But I understand.
We said as soon as Nick Caserio gets his bonus, he's at the casino. Like, right. We've established that.
It's also worth understanding. It feels very much like you had to incentivize the Patriots to get off of this pick. So like you almost had to go into the negotiation with a crowbar, it seems, because the Patriots ultimately turned down the Bears, who tried to trade up one spot, and the Patriots turned down the Texans. And then they said as much in this video. We just didn't feel like the value was there in the trade. So I understand you probably have to give them a little bit more to actually get them to move off. I believe this was for Travion Henderson. I believe they were moving up for Henderson
which would make sense because we both acknowledge they need more playmakers in the running back room. Nick Caserio said as much. He basically called the other two guys special teams guys. And then they ended up a little bit later on trading up for a running back that none of us really saw as a guy in Woody Marks, who, by the way, he's not Travion Henderson, although he does have a good body of work catching the rock. But you can make a case that he's kind of like the same change of pace type of vibe in a perfect world as Travion Henderson.
He's a compliment, not a bell cow, which is exactly what Travion Henderson would be, just maybe at a higher level than what Woody Marks is. I believe it was for Travion Henderson, and the reason I believe that is they ultimately waited another 10 picks before they were able to get an Ursery trade done. So if you're trying to get to 38 to get Ariante Ursery, and the Patriots say, beat it, we're picking, don't you try to get to 39 or 40 or 41 or 42 to maybe get Ursery?
Maybe they did, though. Maybe they did.
Sure. Yeah. No, they certainly could. I would tell you that every one of those teams between 39 and 48 probably did a bad job if that same offer was on the table, not taking the Texans offer. Because hell, that's one hell of an offer. It's an extra 2 third-round picks. Like, that's what you get for moving back. And ultimately they sent 99 out and moved 10 spots in a much, much more reasonable trade. But I feel like it's for Travion Henderson. And looking at the players that were drafted around there, I don't believe it was for Burden. We know it wasn't for the quarterback that the Saints drafted. Maybe a couple of defensive tackles, but God, I'd have hated that if they moved up for defensive tackles. Like, that'd have been annoying. And then a couple of ends, and then ultimately they make the move up to 48.
Couple tight ends too, but I don't know. That would be interesting to see. It's almost like you wish you could have a simulator just to see what they would have taken. They're never going to admit it. But we do know Caserio acknowledged, failing to make some trades. And we got the video proof now with New England, if y'all want to go check that out.
Would you agree that if you made the trade, you got Travion Henderson, there's almost no scenario where you're still getting Ursery and Knoll?
No. I think the Knoll pick is just a luxury of. I think it's legit taking the best player available with substance. Like, I think that the actions show that. So I don't think they ever approached day 2 saying, okay, we're going to get Higgins and Knoll. But hey, sometimes it works out like that. Like, sometimes it works out like that, and sometimes being lucky is good. But if they were, like, let's say that they were trying to get Henderson, then that tells you what we'd been saying a long time, and this wasn't a mystery, that they need more playmaking and depth at that position, and they didn't get it. So how are they able to work around that, and how are they able to figure some stuff out? Because I personally think that, and this is just me, I've listened to every word that Nick Caserio has said since he's been here. I've been as critical as anyone of Nick Caserio. I've praised Nick Caserio when he's deserved it. But just in speaking Nick Caserio, when we talk about this and we talk about the proof and everything, I think if he had tried to trade up to get Ursery, I think he would have come out and said, we were trying to trade up to get him the whole time. I actually thought it was pretty interesting that he actually admitted that they were trying to make trades. Maybe he just knows it's going to come out in this day and age where there's cameras there. I mean, if he had never admitted it, we would have just seen it with this New England video and all the reports. So I think that kind of frustrates Nick a little bit because I think he would like to keep it private. But I think if I'm Nick Caserio and I'm going up there and I'm admitting that I tried to trade up, then it would be a lot easier to say, yeah, we loved Ursery. We thought he was great. We actually tried to trade up and get him earlier, and luckily we were able to get our guy from the jump. So that's just me listening to everything he says and putting everything together. And based on that, the Henderson thing makes a lot of sense.
It would have been real intriguing to see them try to navigate that third round without an offensive lineman if they had made the deal and ultimately drafted Henderson at 38. They wouldn't have had 79. I don't know exactly when Knoll would go. Could he be there at 89? Would the Packers have taken him at 87? Would Caserio have continued to move around? Like, there's so many, especially with the way he operates with draft picks, it's hard to be like, well, they'd have just done this. Like, it's hard to kind of project what they'd have done. But, I mean, we have a pretty strong feeling if they had Henderson, they're not getting Marks. So maybe they're operating in a different way or at the beginning of day 3 for a different player or position. So ultimately they got speed, which they got in a different form than Henderson. Henderson, pretty quick with the ball in his hands. They got it with Knoll. He's quick. He's fast. So they got speed eventually. They still got a playmaker, maybe a game changer with Knoll. It's a different way, different version than Henderson. We have so much benefit of like knowing what they actually did. I have a hard time saying, yeah, I mean, I loved Henderson, but like him and whatever else they would have done, I know that's better than what they ultimately did. I really like what they ended up doing, especially because they ended up with Knoll.
I think also the other part of the draft, and shout out to everyone here on SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. Let's go to the soup real quick.
Swarm.
Austin Jack. Shout out to Austin.
Good to see
out
you.
there doing his thing. HDAV. Trill Kick X says, just want to give you guys a shout out. You are the best biz, and it's not close. Family been praying for a raise, and I got it today. There you go, my friend. Thanks for keeping me locked in every day. Watch everything I'll drop. Congrats on the raise, my friend. Hopefully you're more responsible with your extra assets than Nick Caserio is, because he likes to throw it around. Unless you can just disposable out, go do your thing. But don't be like Nick when you get extra assets.
I like that watching us, perhaps during work, didn't prevent Trill Kick X from being able to be promoted.
Made it better.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Trill Kick. Thank you for the kind words.
David White says, Stutes, I got 2 tickets for the State of the Texans event out here at 5:30. I can offer up if y'all want to make it. Don't know if y'all have access.
It's kind of more of like a season ticket holder event, so
let them do their thing. You gotta let the fans do their thing. You don't have to be on the scene for everything. So I think honestly, one of the best things about that event is I feel like it's an intimate experience between you and D'Amico and Nick. So I think it's if our dumbasses were lurking around, maybe we would get the old Hardo D'Amico and you wouldn't get the full experience. But going back to what I was saying about the draft, I didn't lose my train of thought here on SNL. Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. The one thing about the draft though is like sometimes what you're trying to do, if it doesn't work out, you end up getting a break. Like I don't know that they were going into last year saying we want Kamari Lassiter. I mean, I would love to see in that alternate universe I speak of so often which corner they would have selected or what they would have done. Mm-hmm. Micah Parsons, I always use this example. The Cowboys wanted corners. They wanted corners. The 3 corners left, so they ended up trading back after wanting a corner, and they got Micah Parsons. So there's always times where you just have to be adjusted. You just have to have a solid enough foundation and the ability to take all the assets that you've put together, whether it be boards, whether it be grades, whether it be knowledge of your roster, knowledge of the board, and you just got to take advantage of it. So maybe it ends up working out for them.
Well, and yet again, and I don't know, the totality of the pivot ended up being a pretty acceptable result. If you told me you could either have Travion Henderson, you could have Woody Marks, I want Travion Henderson 10 times out of 10. That's not just the gist of the conversation. But again, plan whatever doesn't work out for Caserio. So what he pivots to worked out in a pretty nice degree. They feel like they got a tackle for the future, perhaps a tackle that helps you this year. And then Noel is a potential steal of the draft with his ability. And I certainly think pretty highly of him and the ability to change games and change the way defenses play them. It's possible we see that immediately with him.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's just, these reports keep coming out. You can't hide them anymore. Here's my question, though. Have the Texans done enough for Nick Caley? Because I know we are in
Damn it, Bobby.
We're in damn it, Bobby hangover mode. And there was always an argument about, does he have enough and stuff. I think you can watch an offense with poor personnel and you can look past maybe flaws or shortcomings or inability to do everything at a high level. And you can still kind of say, okay, well, they're doing all they can with this offense. I think it's possible. Like if you watch the game close enough to say, okay, well, they could do better. Just like CJ Stroud last year. Yeah, the surroundings weren't perfect, but he could have done better. And I think he would agree to that. But when it comes to running a good offense, let's just say a good offense. Let's say a great offense, because I think they're far away from that. Have the Texans done enough for Nick Caley to set him up for success?
I'm trying to put myself in Nick Caley's shoes when I answer this, and I would say, in totality, no, they haven't. I don't like their offensive line setup right now, and they don't have trustworthy depth behind Joe Mixon. They've done a pretty decent job with the pass catchers. I don't know that there was a ton of wiggle room at tight end, or if there's a name or a target that they really just kind of swung and missed on from a tight end perspective. But going and finding new pass catchers at wide receiver, it feels like they have done quite a bit there. But I'd say thumbs down on the offensive line, thumbs down on depth at running back. And we don't know what Nick Caley's was okay with taking the job. We don't know exactly where he was like, oh, I can make this work. I can't make this work. We don't know that. But if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, you guys didn't really give me much to work with here on this damn offensive line. And if Joe goes down, we're in some damn trouble.
Which we'll get to in a second. Some whispers from common places and then whispers from a unique place, to be honest with you. Thought it would be a little bit more showcased. But the thing with Nick Caley is I don't really know what he's trying to do. So, and I know that sounds stupid, but nobody knows what he's trying to do. So like if I had like even a 1-year sample size of Nick Caley's style and what he wanted to do and what he was trying to do, then I would be able to answer this question. I mean, I will say, like, there's a ton of question marks about the offensive line, and I don't know that there's really a lot of reason for optimism. Like at wide receiver, there's questions, but there's pretty good reason for optimism at the wide receiver position. Like I will say that the offensive line, it's just a cluster, and I think it's going to come down to coaching, and it's going to be about what he does. But the thing about this is, I would like to say no, but I don't know what Nick Caley does and what a Nick Caley offense is. And I'm going to bring this back until we see Nick Caley for 1 game, 5 games, 10 games, 2 seasons, because we thought Bobby Slowick was good after 1 year. So this question is going to be a very fluid question. I know that's Nick Casario's favorite word, but it's going to be a very fluid process. But at this point, I can't really say yes, and I can't completely say no because I don't know what the hell he does and what he wants to do.
I would also, I do wonder if they, as he's going through the interview process, as he's getting shown what the offense is going to look like and the conversations they have, if maybe there's a point where it's like, hey, we're going to give you this much, but what we're giving you isn't enough to fix everything that we feel was wrong. You know, so you're going to have to just make do at this spot or that spot because we still have X, Y, and Z to do on this team. Like, could I see Nick Caley wanting to change the tight end room, but then ultimately having to say, yeah, I'll just make it work with these guys? Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Like that seems like a realistic pivot to say, yeah, I'll just make it work with this tight end room. We'll figure that out later. I'll make it work with these guys right now. If you can get me,
which is
Christian Kirk and some rookie. Yeah. It's make it
like
do with what
D'Amico does it every time. Like that's coaching. You make it work with what you got. You would like to have, like you got to prepare the meal. You might not have the garlic salt. You might only have salt, not pepper. You got to prepare the meal. That's coaching. But I do think it's important when you evaluate him to kind of grasp it that way.
And I mean, part of this too, like, you almost have to wonder if their approach on the offensive line is not necessarily what they ended up with as much as something that they were willing to willingly operate with. Like, did they build the offensive line with a mostly nameless, faceless, intention? No stars, no standouts. Is this why they put the offensive line together? There's a bunch of options. They'll just, let them all fight to the death in training camp. Like, were they comfortable with that? Did Nick Caley say, I have to have this guy, and if I can't get him, then make sure you get me something else? Like, there is a give and take to the offseason.
And there's another thing as well. Back on the soup.
Swarm.
So Trill says he listens, can't watch. You don't have to buy a shirt. We'll get you one. Next batch of shirts that we get, I think we gave away 50 at the draft party. Next batch, we got you, my friend. So the other thing that I think when it comes to this offense is so normally like let's say that you eat at a badass restaurant, like the first couple of times you eat there, you're like, wow, that was phenomenal. That was amazing. Yada, yada, yada. But then if you start eating there all the time, you almost take it for granted and you become used to it. Like it's just kind of expected. It's not as good the first time. The two best performances that the Texans had last year, where Josh Allen had one of the worst games of his career and Justin Herbert might have had the worst game of his career as well, although he's had a few stinkers here and there. I'm wondering if maybe those types of defensive performances kind of become the norm, to where this defense is so good that's kind of your home base, because the Texans didn't beat the Bills because of their offense. I know they had the deep play to Nico Collins. They didn't score in the second half. Like, I don't think. I think that was where the drought actually started, the second half drought that they had for a few weeks.
Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown.
They won that game because Josh Allen looked terrible and DeMeco Ryans' defense made him look as such. They didn't beat the Chargers because the offense was just humming. They beat the Chargers because they forced a large amount of turnovers and they really lowered the pressure on the offense. Now, there was the offense still has to take advantage of opportunities and they have to be somewhat opportunistic. But as far as like the offense carrying this team, it's not going to happen. And it's not realistic to happen. So I do wonder, like, if those performances that we put on a high pedestal, rightfully so, if those are the norm, then maybe that's just kind of your home base and that's just kind of what you lean on. If maybe Texans wins start looking like the Buffalo game and the Chargers game, and they kind of did last year, really.
Well, if they improve on enough margins, you should see an overall large improvement. Like if the field position's a little bit better because the defense is a little bit better, they're a bit more efficient, and then the offensive line, we've talked about this. They're the 28th to 31st offensive line in football last year. If you're the 20th offensive line, like that, like all the positive improvements should add up to a solid jump for the offense if all those improvements are indeed occurring in this upcoming season. So like, you go from wherever they were as an offense to 5-6 spots better and the defense is really good. Okay, you could see how you could turn a couple of games your way and you're getting past that 10-win mark. So they may not have like this wholesale giant change on offense. They just might be a little bit better in enough areas that it pushes them far enough forward.
Yeah, and on the chat, Engineer says they won because of the Stroud save. I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. I would say that was a good opportunity, but they won because the defense, after the offense fumbled at midfield, Kamari Lassiter got an interception. They won because the defense multiple times stopped the Chargers from making it a 2-possession game, and they held up. So I would disagree. And Stroud actually threw an interception near midfield where the defense bailed you out as well. So I would disagree in saying that's why they won. They won because of the defense in that game.
Yeah, the Chargers scored. They scored 6 points. 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
Between the end of the first quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter.
I mean, if you watch SportsCenter, maybe like if you didn't watch the game, then maybe you would say that they won because of the CJ. But the offense, the expectations of the offense, the point I'm making is the expectations of the offense were low because of what the defense did and because of forcing all the turnovers they did. So
it's worth noting the defense also scored a touchdown in the second half too. Like Eric Murray had an interception for a touchdown. Yeah,
Eric Murray had the pick 6. That was definitely a defensive defensive.
A $24 million pick 6 apparently. Thanks, Jacksonville.
Yeah, he did get paid. I did completely forget about that.
Pretty excited to see him on the schedule.
You mentioned in the overall point is that I think you were going to be able to lean on this defense and set the offense up to where a play here or there will be enough. As opposed to actually having to carry the team, which is not ideal.
A more efficient CJ Stroud, he doesn't even have to be as good as he was his rookie year. But if he's just a little bit more efficient, that should be worth a handful of points per week. And if the defense is as good as we believe it to be, you're going to beat some teams with some unimpressive offensive performances. We just hope you see a few more impressive offensive performances.
Yeah, I would agree with that. On the super chat, before we get into something interesting, at Landry, real question: what does it take for Frank Ross to get a head coaching chance like Harbaugh did? I think the dude might actually be a great head coach. I don't know whether he'd be a good head coach or not. I could see him being like a college head coach. In the NFL, it's just so hard. I don't even know. I think even just getting a interview would be a big step for Frank Ross, but I don't really know. Like John Harbaugh was in Philadelphia, I think, and that was like during like the golden age of, I think Andy Reid went to 4 NFC championship games consecutively. It was at least 3. And I think they just started taking close looks at what they did. The name Harbaugh probably didn't hurt too much, given that Jim, I think, had kind of started building college programs at that point whenever he was hired. So I don't know that he's going to get like the John Harbaugh opportunity. I just don't know that that's realistic.
Well, there've been a handful of special teams coaches making the jump and then being failures that have hurt his chances too. Like it's because the way, and again, the NFL is a copycat league. The way a lot of teams think is, well, I need an offensive or I need a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Or some owners or ownership groups believe, well, I need a guy that's been a head coach before at some level, somewhere. So it's tough for a special teams guy, even if they have if he had the best special teams in football 3-4 years running, it would still be tough. Now, could he go be, a college coach somewhere, have some success, worked up to another program, and then maybe get a crack? Yeah, he could. It's just, I feel like it's a really long road because the NFL is very tunnel visioned and copycat, and the owners that would be willing to take that chance, sometimes you don't want to work for that organization, Cleveland. And sometimes the ones that would think that far outside the box, they thought outside the box and it was successful. Baltimore.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough route. Maybe you can end up doing it in college, but who knows?
Yeah. There's what, 130 something Division I programs and even more below that. Like it does feel like a special teams coach is going to have to go cut his teeth at a different level, lower level, before he's getting a crack at the NFL anytime soon.
Yep. So Joe Mixon, we really haven't seen Joe Mixon, and shout out to Herman T. He said, "What's up, my passive aggressive gangsters?" Okay, I'll take that as a compliment.
I don't feel like I am very passive aggressive. I feel like I'm just like clearly aggressive.
Aggressive passive would be the right term for you.
Well, you're just aggressive assive.
Good one.
Nailed it.
Joe Mixon injured ? We heard some stuff about this and just kind of didn't really know what to make of it. I guess there was every once in a while you'll get a message. You don't just read every message in the chat. Y'all can tell we do a pretty decent job of keeping the flow going. Every once in a while there's a little bit of a lag here or there, whatever. But Joe Mixon, there was talk about like, is Joe Mixon injured? Is something going on? And people were saying there was a video where the Texans running backs are working out. He wasn't there. It was voluntary, so maybe he wasn't. And then now I guess there is actually a report from someone who covers the squad. I guess Aaron Wilson has said that Joe Mixon was in a boot this offseason. I don't know what to make of this, but now that Aaron Wilson, who's reporter, put it out there, what do we know about this Joe Mixon stuff?
I'll quote from Aaron Wilson's video. Joe Mixon has a walking boot for protective reasons.
Okay.
And quote, it's something, but it's not anything real big, end quote. So he expects him to miss some of the.
Is that Laramie Fowler?
That was the direct quote from Aaron Wilson. It's something, but it's not anything real big.
But he's protecting himself from something.
But a walking boot for protective reasons, which could be
from what?
It could be any number of things from basically hip down. If you're really thinking about what you might be wearing a walking boot for, it could be to alleviate pressure off of knee, off of foot, off of ankle, off of calf.
But he did say that he was in a boot. And Aaron Wilson has his YouTube channel as well, if you want to check that out. Also works at KPRC.
Aaron said on his YouTube channel that Joe Mixon is in a boot and he'll miss some off-season work.
What?
And maybe miss part of training camp, but maybe could be back for training camp.
Wait, say it again?
Joe Mixon's in a boot. He could miss some off-season work like OTAs, mini camps, so on. But it's not anything real big, but he might be ready for training camp, but he also, could maybe miss a little bit of off-season stuff.
Okay. All right, let's just kind of look at this. So this is confusing to me because so is it something or not? I got to go back to that part. So it is something or it's not something?
It's something, but it's not anything real big.
Okay, training camp starts in July. If he's not ready for training camp, that's kind of big. That's 2 months. So like that's more than he missed in the season when he got hurt. So if it's not something big, then how could he maybe not be ready for training camp? That's kind of big.
It's something, but it's not anything real big.
But he could be out for training camp.
But he should be back for training camp.
But he might not be?
I guess he should be back. Inherently is he could not be back for training camp as well.
Okay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll just when training camp comes around, we'll figure this out. But it's on the radar because Aaron Wilson covers the squad and it's out there. It's not just
it's something, but it's
not just like a message or anything
big.
It's something, but it's not anything real big. He should be ready for training camp in 2 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But he's gonna miss something in the offseason workouts.
Okay. What?
Well, something.
Okay.
I mean, maybe he's already missed time, and that's why he's in the boot.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
HD AV Traveler says, "Damn, Cody with the zinger there. Good jobs." Aggressive acid. I'm assuming that he is going back to the aggressive acid.
Yeah, probably.
Type of thing. So there we go. So just keep an eye on Joe Mixon. I will ask this: how dependent are they on Joe Mixon?
I mean, they're screwed if he's not playing.
Yeah, because even at wide receiver with Nico, you have Christian Kirk. You have 2 rookies that you
feel pretty good about.
Yeah, you feel good. I feel good about the rookie wide receivers. They're still pretty Mixon dependent. And to bring it full circle here on this edition of SNL, it kind of goes back to, did they try to trade for a running back or not? We've talked a lot about this. And it makes you wonder, J.K. Dobbins is still the most popular name that's being thrown out there. Is that someone that maybe you're more open to bringing in if something is going down, if it isn't, whatever that is?
Yeah, I mean, when they didn't have, and again, this is last year's team, so it's, it's not a 1-for-1, but when they didn't have Joe Mixon last year, they rushed for 38 yards against the Vikings. Now, they were getting their head kicked in pretty early, so they probably abandoned the run. In a close game against the Jaguars, they rushed for 101 rushing yards. 17 of those were C.J. Stroud scrambles. And then against the Bills, they rushed for 94 yards.
Yeah. It's going to be you're going to be leaning on the defense no matter what, but you definitely need that. So,
well, and you need that to close games out too.
Yeah.
You defense does a good job. You get up 13, 17 points. Okay, put it in the running back's belly and grind the clock and grind the other team out. You got to be able to do that. And they don't have anybody besides Joe Mixon that can do that.
Have you ever been in a boot?
A walking boot? No.
Yeah.
No.
I've been in one, and I had torn tendons, but it was maybe a month or something. But I had to go to Hawaii right after I tore the tendons. I actually had to get rescued in the beach because I wasn't kicking as well. I think the lifeguard was being a little dramatic.
You had to get rescued by a lifeguard in Hawaii?
Yeah, I think he was just trying to be a hero, but
you don't know how to swim?
I was swimming fine. I guess he said I was in danger. I was swimming fine. Great swimmer. A really good swimmer. I don't know. So we went. So it's actually really funny. So we went and ended up staying with my buddy's uncle, who ended up running one of the bigger Ponzi schemes that you can imagine. I think he ended up going to jail.
Okay.
but they put us at the Four Seasons. Like it was weird. Like I asked him what he did. He said absolutely nothing. But to bring it back, I tore tendons hooping, and I just had a boot, and I went to Hawaii, and I go swim. I just drink, gut out, whatever, 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I was in the water. I thought it was chilling. And then all of a sudden I'm hearing a whistle blow, and I'm like looking around, seeing who's being saved. And it's me. And they just pulls me out there. We walk together to the thing, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm just like, okay. And then I went right back out. Maybe I wasn't kicking. Maybe they didn't think I was kicking good enough.
You had to get Hasselhoff to come get you, huh?
Dude, I was just chilling. It was like, what the hell is going on?
Hasselhoff had to come get you.
David White says on the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
He says, glad we have Dr. Aaron Wilson on our side.
This is a funny. A mutual friend of ours texted me, and he said, "I'm going to tell my boss I might be out tomorrow. It's something, but it's not a big thing. Might be in tomorrow or might miss 2 months."
Rather have too many RB than not enough. I don't know that they have too many. I think they have bodies, but they don't.
Well, I think that's the point probably that person's making, is that they don't have enough running backs, and you'd rather have to cut somebody good in training camp or get rid of somebody that you think is decent in training camp than be sitting there. And again, this goes back to one of those things where Casario's like, well, the draft's not the only way you can add players. Yeah, but if you're signing a running back in May, June, and July, they usually suck.
It's the best way. Landry got rescued by Mitch Buchanan. Pretty much. It was weird. I went right back out. So glad we traded up for Woody Marks. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't disagree, but I do think that J.K. Dobbins is a guy that it's a 1-year deal no matter what, and he probably just wants to weigh out the best option. Well, now, if J.K. Dobbins is reading this report and he says that he might or might not or may be at camp and maybe won't or whatever, maybe Houston's kind of appealing to him, and maybe Houston might or might not be willing to get J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, Jeff. My question would be, what is the harm in having someone a bit more proven behind Joe Mixon?
There's no harm.
There is no harm.
There's no harm. Why don't we kick the tires on Nick Chubb? I would rather have Dobbins at this point than Chubb, but
I don't think there's any tires to kick.
Yeah, that was an ugly ass injury,
and he wasn't good when he came back last year. Now you could say, hey, okay, well, he's going to be a year further away from the injury. Maybe it looks a little bit better. Sure.
But do you think the Mixon dependency is too high?
Certainly.
I mean, I think it's he's given you it's already been a success no matter what happens with Joe Mixon. Like it's already been an overwhelming success what he's given you, but the dependency is pretty high. I don't want to make a prediction because I don't know what the hell's going on, but I can't figure it out, but it is out there, and it at least makes you think about what we've been talking about with the running back depth and what exactly that would look like. So I don't know. Like I'm not going to sit here and say I have no idea. Like I
just can't believe for the 19th time this offseason I'm having to pull out free agent running backs and look through this crap heap.
Give me the list, man. Give me the list. Because I think they still need this list even if everything's great. Okay.
So you got
Jamal Williams.
Boy,
Mixon would be pissed. That is a touchdown stealing mofo.
Gus Edwards. Jeff Wilson. Got some experience in Shanahan's systems. Nick Chubb.
System.
What's that?
We don't know if this is Shanahan's system.
Well, if it is, he's at least got some experience in it.
Yeah.
If it's an offshoot, if there's some familiarity, if there's some crossover.
Didn't Hines have 2 straight injuries?
I don't know who Nyheim Miller
yes, you
Hines
do. Is. He was on the Colts and then he went to the Bills.
Oh, right? He changed his name?
Is that the same Hines? I'm not pretending to know.
Is he the one? He's got hit by like a jet ski or something, right?
All right, maybe not. Maybe there's a different Hines. I thought his name was Nyheim Hines.
No, that's the same guy. He just changed his name.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was on the Browns. But yeah, he got hit by a jet ski and then he tore his Achilles in a workout video, right? Is that who I'm thinking of?
Man, I don't. I kind of
Whatever.
stop. Let's see.
Whatever.
He missed the entire. He missed the.
It's no
Hold
either
on.
way.
He missed the entire 2023 season because he got in a jet ski accident.
Yeah, and then 2024 he got hurt in the preseason.
Yeah. He did
Like
not
right off
appear
the top, or in a
he did
video.
Did not appear in a game for the
I
Cleveland.
think he was doing a comeback workout video and got hurt. Tell me if I'm wrong or not.
Hey, Cam Akers is available.
He probably hates them, or he loves them because they did him a favor. Although Cam Akers might like Caley.
Or Cam Akers might hate Caley. Because when Akers didn't he feel like he kind of got screwed there in LA?
I don't know. Amir Abdullah, shout out to Nebraska. God, he's still trying to play. There's no way he's trying to play. He's drinking a beer right now.
He's 32.
He's chilling. Shout out to my boy Deontay. Rest in peace, Day Foreman, aka Derek, aka guy I used to BS with. Rest in peace. And then this is just garbage. This sucks. It's terrible.
They worked out Chris Evans, I think. I think I'd rather have the actor than him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No,
like,
the favor. I'm saying maybe the Texans send him to Minnesota because he wanted to go there. So maybe. So I'm saying that maybe Cam Akers feels grateful that they put him in a better situation.
J.K. Dobbins had 905 rushing yards last year, and he's
good,
and he's still a free agent.
He's had a couple injuries. He's good though.
I'm looking at some of these names on here, like the rushing leaders. I'm just wondering if could you call Washington and see like, hey, is Brian Robinson Jr. available?
I don't know.
He had 800 rushing yards last year.
DeRhino says, don't sleep on British Brooks making a comeback. They didn't like him at running back, though. That's the thing. Like he was, I'm snoozing on him as a running back. He was a tight end when he got hurt. So he didn't make the team as a running back. He made the team as like a fullback tight. Like he wasn't even doing running back drills last year in practice. He was doing fullback, tight end, special teams. He wasn't even as soon as it became apparent that he might have a roster spot, they didn't even use him at running back ever.
I will note that a late round Cody Stoots favorite, Jawar Jordan, is still on the team, but I do not believe in him. So
yeah, I mean, and
putting that out there.
Got Mr. Taylor there, JJ Taylor. See how Nick Caley feels about him. I
believe in him probably less.
Yeah, it's not the most impressive running back room.
Could you I'm just looking here.
Don't do it. No. If you're looking at that list, no.
Cam Akers was 48th in rushing last year, by the way. In case anybody is wondering. What about no.
Yeah, there's no it's gonna have to be like someone getting released or something like that.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, and then Cleveland drafted 2. They got Judkins and Sampson, right?
Dylan Sampson, yeah.
Yeah, they drafted the an all Big Ten running back and the SEC Offensive Player of the Year in their backfield.
Like you couldn't have spent $5 million on Najee Harris.
Where did he go?
He went to the Chargers.
Oh yeah, but he's getting more opportunity there.
You couldn't have spent this sounds silly.
Oh,
even
God.
Kenneth Gainwell.
Stop.
Miles Sanders.
Cowboys took him and Williams. They got like the sleeper list of fantasy 3 years ago.
But Khalil Herbert. Get him and Aziz to bury the hatchet.
He was like a pickup guy. He was popping on the pickup wire there for a while.
Remember when Samaje Perine accidentally got $8 million a year?
Oh, that report? Yeah, that was wild. That was a lot of money. I was like, what?
And then the Buccaneers had to be like, that did not happen.
Wait, it was 2 years, 8, right?
I thought it was like 324.
I don't know. Yeah, it was
he ended up with 3.6.
Yeah, which is more reasonable. Man, I could see D'Amico wanting Samaje Perine. Spoke very highly of him.
He just got a new deal back with the Bengals. So
yeah, he gets to go back home where he wants to be.
I don't know. I mean,
Help out that offensive line.
I guess somebody will get cut. This running back room needs saving, like Landry in Hawaii, though.
Nah, it was like a young guy. I think he was trying to be a hero. It almost made me feel like he was trying to meet like a quota or something like that.
You were a save quota?
Dude, I walked up there with him he was blowing the whistle and I was just sitting there and it was like I was looking and then we walked up together and then it was like, okay, thanks. And then I went right back in the water where I was. But I was limping because I had the torn tendons and I put the boot out, but
Jose asked, could you trade for Singletary? I wouldn't trade for him, but he's a guy that could absolutely get cut.
Yeah, he could get cut. Now, the thing about Singletary that I will say is it's cool, but it is a different system. So maybe it's kind of an off branch of it. I know Cody keeps using the Shanahan word. Maybe he knows something we don't. But
I'm using the fact that the McVay system is an offshoot of Shanahan, and there's some overlap.
I got you, but all I'm saying is that.
Well, okay, if you think it's part of the New England,
it's not like he's coming back to a place he's familiar with.
Well, hold on though. If you think it's part of the New England situation, he played for Dayball. Like how? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You
know? He's played for both. So maybe we talked our way into that being perfect because he's played for both systems.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
just call him now and see if they'll send him to you for a sixth.
Yeah, I mean, you make a really strong point there. That I mean, he's played for both. So there you go. That's why I need you to hold me accountable at times. The other thing that they gotta figure out, and we gotta figure out, is like, are they using a fullback or what? Like,
well, they have the Jakob kid.
Yeah, and that's someone that they brought in, and then they, I guess,
previously played in New England. Jakob Johnson.
Yeah. So are they using a fullback? Is that where we're at?
Well, if they keep a fullback, that's going to screw somebody out of a roster spot. It's maybe you drop to. I mean, if you kept a fullback, boy, it really is May 19th. Kept the fullback.
Oh, don't act like you're above in-depth fullback talk any time of the year. Shut up.
You asked
Frank Ross during a press conference last year about indoor punting.
I did. And I got a good answer.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about fullbacks.
And
one of your A topics most of the time.
It's probably a B, but it's close. If you told me they're keeping a fullback but only keeping 6 wide receivers, I think I'd be annoyed by that. I'd rather them keep 7 wide receivers and have one of the guys be a special teams only player like Braxton Berrios.
The perfect world is where they can use the tight end and 21 and all that stuff.
They have one of those guys. Can Stover do that on a consistent basis?
No. And for some reason, it's talked about as if Brevin Jordan's freaking.
Brevin Jordan blocked well for 3 snaps, and people are like, he can block.
Well, they watched Dalton Schultz block, so it's almost like it can be worse. But the way you got to admit, this isn't like a straw man, and you people in the chat, you can back me up on this. You people, I do mean you people. Brevin Jordan does get talked about like he's like Kyle Juszczyk or something like that now that he's gone, or Vontae Leach. Like it is hilarious because last year we're talking about Brevin Jordan. We're like, all right, 2 years ago it was like, well, this guy might not make the team. Like, what's he going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Then he makes the team. And then it's like, well, he might be a gadget guy. They might use his speed a little bit more, talking too much about the Cleveland game and all that. And then all of a sudden you watch Dalton Schultz block and all of a sudden people are talking about Brevin Jordan like he's freaking Vontae Leach.
Yeah, Brevin Jordan, people just assume he's going to make the team and be a factor. Like, I have no idea what his ability to replicate what he did last year is after his knee injury, serious knee injury.
Yeah, and I don't know what even like without the knee injury, if like he's the guy that you want to say, okay, this guy's in charge, this guy is blocking. Like it was malpractice to ask Dalton Schultz to block that much. I think it would be almost worse to ask Brevin Jordan to do it. That's not his game. He literally has been playing tight end for like 6 years, I think. 6 or 7 years he's been playing tight end, which I guess is a long time. But
yeah, if they don't keep a fullback, I don't know that they have the tight ends to do the fullback activities.
Yeah.
So who gets screwed out of a? I mean, is he screwing a running back out of a spot for the fullback? Are you screwing a defensive lineman out of a spot?
Yeah, their roster management's going to be interesting to see how exactly they handle this and what they do with their roster management, because we really don't know what the deal is. Luke Lachey, I think he probably needs to get a little stronger upper body. That's just like me watching him for 20 minutes. Run around, do drills, not even really blocking drills.
Landry thinks Luke Lachey's a P.
No. I just think he probably needs to get a little stronger before we expect him to be the
local
dog of the blocking.
Local digital beat reporter says new tight end's a bitch.
Yeah, definitely did not say that.
See that aggregated everywhere.
Yeah, that did not happen. I just think he probably needs to get a little bit stronger before we start saying that he's going to solve all the blocking tight end issues. Gavin
Luke Lachey would have to get saved from the Hawaii Ocean.
Swarm.
Luke Lachey, more like Nick Lachey. Just go lead 98 degrees. Gavin King says, I don't see why Stover can't basically be our fullback and also backup tight end. Landry getting on Cody's ass about the May 19th comment kills me. Thanks for keeping it entertaining, guys. Thank you, Gavin, my friend. Yes, I do think I cannot wait to see what Cade Stover looks like. I think he's going to be jacked, and I think his blocking will improve. I don't know a lot.
Luke Lachey to go work out with Gavin.
I don't know a lot about, he's flexing right there. I don't know a lot about, like as far as guaranteeing much about this offense, but I can guarantee you that Cade Stover's blocking will be better. Promise you that. There's a small list of promises, and maybe we should do promises tomorrow. Maybe we should do like a game show. Like, I guarantee it. We just like lay out everything that we can guarantee about this team. This is one of mine. I guarantee it that Cade Stover's blocking is going to be better this year than it was last. Does that mean it's great? Don't know, but it's going to be better. Well, I guarantee it.
Well, he graded out as a pretty decent run blocker. He just couldn't pass block to save his life.
And I guarantee his pass blocking will be better.
I do too. It's I have a healthy amount of optimism for Cade Stover in year 2.
Yes. Now, is he going to turn into TE1? Is he even going to turn into a really, really good TE2? Don't know. But as far as doing the dirty work and all that type of stuff, I think he's about that life, and I think he's only going to get stronger, and that will improve. Zero doubt about that.
If he just turned into a consistent, number 2 tight end that you could trust to do some of the dirty work of the position.
Even 2B.
Yeah, like it'd be solid.
If his, like, let's just put it this way. If we're not, if for the next 3 years, there's no concern about Cade Stover making the team or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. If like we know every year, as long as Cade Stover's here, you're putting him on the roster. Like there's no questions about it.
Because this year he's on the roster, like it's year 2, and
correct.
There was enough, but yeah, that's as they're going to have to, because next year there's a good chance, unless something really awesome happens, but there's a good chance that tight end's going to be up there when it comes to needs next year. Because Schultz is gone. You're not stuck with Schultz anymore after this year.
Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt. Come on down.
He used to be a quarterback at A&M, didn't he?
I just know he's one of the top-rated.
Did I make that up?
Once a 4-star quarterback recruit. He's made the transition to tight end look seamless.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No doubt.
Played at New Mexico State. He's a 99th percentile game athleticism guy, for whatever that means.
Oh God.
Yeah, the free agency tight end market is probably not where you want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, probably not. But there can also be bargain opportunities. Like David White on the soup says, I'd rather watch Pegleg Landry get saved from drowning in Hawaii than watch Dalton Schultz block another snap in my life. He's going to have to block. You definitely don't want to put him on the island. You definitely don't want to put him on the island. I would say that.
Maybe he's going to try harder this year, though, because it's essentially a contract year. Contract year Schultz
you think it was trying?
Contract year Schultz is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a toughie. That's a toughie for sure. Real toughie. So to put a bow on this, Nick Caserio tried to trade up. Was it for a running back? Was it Henderson? Mixon? There's a lot there and a lot being said about Joe Mixon. I guess we'll just wait till camp and see if he's there. If he's there, he's there. If he's not, he's not. I think that's basically the summary of the commentary.
Yep.
I would say. And then I would say as far as the tight end position, your guess is as good as mine.
I do wonder if that was just the position that Nick Caley walked in and just says, I'll make it work for a year. We'll figure it out next year. Just fix this and this and this.
Yep.
It's like house hunters. You can't get everything on the wish list. So what can you live with? Well, I can live with the tight end. I can live with the laundry room not getting renovated.
Yep. All right. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to ride along, and be sure to always remember. Let me get this right. If it's a big thing or it's not a big thing or a massive thing or a very small thing, and if he's there for camp or if he's not, when it comes to this Texan stuff, regardless, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. Hopefully your foot's in good shape. Joe Mixon, we have no idea. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.